Okay, finally, you guys wanted it, and I'll give it to you guys, the final part of me and my lawyer. Many of you guys wanted this final part, and I wasn't really sure why, because most of you guys just want to hear the part where I just do the Devil's Tango and move on, but apparently you guys wanted more than that. So obviously, I'm gonna give the final part, but before I do, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do, and on top of that, I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support in the last couple videos. Now let's get straight into this insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So if you guys didn't see the last two parts of me and my lawyer, I highly advise you guys go check it out, because then this story won't really make sense. But basically, last where we left off, let's just say I ended up doing the Devil's Tango with my lawyer, and she had a family. Obviously, for some reason, her and her husband were having family issues, but I remember her son ended up basically walking in, and he didn't see us doing the Devil's Tango, but he realized that something was up with his mom and me, and let's just say things got really bad. I remember after when I left the house of basically my lawyer, that same day when I ended up doing the Devil's Tango with her, I knew something was off. I knew I was gonna get in trouble in some sort of way. Either she was gonna call my parents, or even maybe for some reason her son might even call my parents. But one thing I made sure of is that there is no way my parents could find out. I remember when I was in the car on the way back home, my mom did ask me, Bubba, why is your hair all messy? But I didn't answer. Obviously, I'm not gonna tell her, oh yeah, you know, I did the Devil's Tango with my lawyer. Obviously, bro. Like, I can't say that to my mom. So I remember I basically was silent the whole entire ride and just thinking about my court case that I had to explain to the lawyer why I got fired from my job originally. I remember the next day, I ended up waking up to a text message. I woke up looking at my phone in bed, and I saw that the lawyer ended up texting me saying, okay, so like, honestly, no one can find out what we did. My son is suspicious, but he doesn't know exactly what happened. Which, knowing this, I mean, that's good, but at the same time, really awkward. I did mention and text her afterwards, did you see the condoms though? And I remember the lawyer ended up saying, yeah, I basically did tell him that I was cheating, but I told him it was with someone else, not you, and he won't believe it's you because you're really young. I mean, hopefully, is what I said afterwards. But then for some reason, I remember something just didn't sit right with my stomach. You guys know that feeling when you're just like kind of just relaxing, or for example, you're just kind of doing your own thing until you realize something feels off, and you start getting that rolling stomach feeling? Well, that's basically what I had that morning, and I didn't know what was up, but I remember I ended up getting up anyway and going upstairs for breakfast. I remember when I went up there, my mom ended up seeing me saying, oh, Bubba, is everything okay? Are you gonna go see your lawyer today? Because your court case is literally tomorrow. I ended up telling her that, yeah, I'm gonna go see her, but I'm not gonna see her at her house nor at her office. Apparently, the lawyer wants to meet in public. My mom found that really weird how she wanted to meet me in public instead of her house instead, but she didn't really care. As long as my case was handled properly, she doesn't really mind. So I remember basically that same day, I ended up going back into my room and basically ended up texting the lawyer to meet me at like a coffee shop or some sort of public place that I can meet up with her just to finish the rest of the work. I remember she agreed, and she basically ended up giving me an address to the local coffee shop that was near my town. I remember I ended up getting my things, getting ready, and started heading over there. Except this time, I didn't go with my mom. I actually ended up riding my bike all the way there because I don't want my mom questioning anything else weird. I remember when I started riding my bike, it was around like 5 p.m. and it was after school. I was riding my BMX bike all the way down until I realized something was off. I remember when I was riding my bike, I had someone following me in a blue car. Now, I didn't recognize this blue car, but I do remember seeing it one time in my lawyer's driveway. So me thinking this was my lawyer, I decided to slow down to kind of like see if it was her. So I remember I ended up kind of pulling to the side of the road and biking slower. And basically when I saw this guy drive by, it was my lawyer's son. Now this is where I get really worried because I'm thinking, why would he come to this meeting? What is going on? So I remember instead, I decided to actually turn around. There was no way I wanted to run into my lawyer's son again after what ended up happening last time. So I ended up turning my bike around, and as I was biking back to my house, I ended up texting her saying, yeah, listen, I saw your son on the way to the same place I was, and I don't think I should be going there. I remember she ended up texting me back saying, what? Why would he? Why is he watching me? This is so weird. But then I ended up telling her, listen, we can finish the final part of work at my place. Just come over to my place instead. She was okay with that, and I remember she ended up texting me saying, okay, I'll be there like 9 o'clock. I said all right, and I ended up going home and basically just playing video games to pass the time. As I was playing video games though, I remember I was thinking in my head that something might go off. You know that feeling where you could tell the future? Well, I was having one of those moments, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that so Raven in any way, shape, or form, but I felt like I was seeing the future, and I knew something was gonna go wrong, but I didn't know when. I remember that same night around 9 p.m., my lawyer ended up coming to the door. She ended up being there, and I ended up going upstairs, letting her in, and we actually ended up finishing the paperwork. Now, obviously, me and her, we were doing the paperwork, we did all that stuff, and everything seemed normal. No, she wasn't hitting on me. No, she wasn't doing anything with me. And no, we did not go to my room and do the devil's tango. To be honest, we kept things very professional. Well, because my parents were home. There was no way this woman was just gonna grab my eggplant out of nowhere, okay? It just wouldn't make sense. I will say this much though, there was some pretty awkward eye contact in some moments. Anyways, after everything was over, I remember I ended up letting her out the door and I stood in front of my front porch to watch her go into her car and leave. But one thing I found very odd is that once she ended up leaving, there was a blue car literally right behind her, driving literally right as she left. And this blue car was the same one I recognized from when I was riding my bike earlier. And me knowing this, I remember I texted her right away saying, I think your son knows that you came to my house. She ended up telling me not to worry about anything and just focus on the court case for tomorrow. So that's what we ended up doing. I remember the next day, I ended up basically getting my suit on and basically going with my parents to the courtroom. We ended up getting there pretty early because my court case was at 8:30 a.m. and it sucked. Waking up early was something I never enjoyed doing, but since I had to skip school for this, I wasn't complaining that much. Anyways, our court case started and basically my lawyer was sitting down beside me as basically she was explaining what ended up happening with the workplace and basically why I got fired. And as the judge was hearing my lawyer out, as I was sitting on the stand telling the God honest truth that I didn't do anything with my friend and his relationship or whatever you want to call that serious thing, I remember out of nowhere, the door opens at the very back. The door opens and I ended up seeing my lawyer's son just walk in saying, "You did my mom." I remember when he walked in saying that, I panicked. I remember I had the most scared look on my face and I'm like, And then afterwards, he ended up coming to the front saying, "Mom, you literally ended up doing that kid?" I remember I looked at my lawyer thinking, oh God, this is not going to be good. And basically my lawyer ended up pulling him out of the room and basically explained everything. At that point though, I remember as we were waiting for my lawyer to come back from talking to her son, the judge did look at me and say, "Did you end up doing your lawyer? Can I get off the stand?" Is what I ended up saying afterwards. Because obviously if you guys know the rules of court, you can't lie on the stand. I remember she ended up looking at me kind of disgusted, but at that point I didn't know what was going to happen. But one thing led to another. My lawyer ended up coming back and basically explained the rest of the story, and luckily my story did align and I basically ended up suing the company for a decent amount of money. And by a decent amount, I mean like $5 grand and a paycheck that I was owed. If you guys want to know more about that situation, just watch part 1. But anyways, I remember afterwards I ended up basically going back of the courtroom and basically started leaving. I was leaving with my parents and I remember my dad ended up grabbing my shoulder saying, "Baba, you got a lot of explaining to do." Okay, is what I ended up telling him. And basically on the whole car ride home, I had to explain everything. And when we got home, I ended up losing my Xbox and basically not allowed to play video games for an entire month. Man, honestly, it sucks. An entire month without video games? That's so unfair. Like, she wanted it. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.